Hi, this is Dr. Justina Agnieszka-Chevalier. This video is actually while I'm drinking coffee on a, let me see, a pertinent to the civic education behavioral aspects from my, as a physician, okay, personal research that I have not submitted yet in peer-reviewed journal, because it is not ethical to do such if it's needed to be implemented or used immediately for personal and, let's sometimes say, area in animals and such safety. I did distribute it because it is ethical to have so-called transparency of information to assure the same standard and access to information for all. And that's why also it is in English. So I would like to talk about what it means to choose a person based on personal fondness in voting for such a person, as opposed to choosing a person because of a congruent, possible to implement with own ideology and wishes that coincide with wishes in safety of own family and persons around, or area, or in some sort of resentments if persons want to do harm and move out, which is also valid, not the best at all, not wanted, but happens. So voting based on personal fondness is not the best way to decide upon candidate, and it is due to a resemblance, because voting is reserved to adults, of a given political candidate to most preferred for men and for a woman, each of you, because I don't vote in the United States, similarity to a potential or actual parent of own children. Or if a person is, for instance, homosexual, in a resemblance to the most loved sexual partner. Or if person is celibate, and that includes children prior to development of such fondness, based on friendships, or based on, at certain age, love for parents. So we seek in facial expressions, non-consciously, in eyes, in gestures, and in many others, in smile, watch debates, reading articles, vocabulary, that person that we love, who is real and who is around, okay, that person resembles, knowing that the other one is stranger or not. Okay, and when this is a stranger, because a politician is a famous person who is a stranger, one party or another, that affinity or love for a stranger is not the same as a person who is known, loved, and in actions deserves on a regular basis such love as the person who at times he non-consciously or consciously resembles. So, though there is a series based on animals about predators, we need to also know the persons who are famous often do prey on, especially politicians, known fondness for persons who are simply known. So common behaviors of father of families for women, so husbands, or fathers, or for mothers, in femininity in gestures, and count on lack of agenda, lack of implementation, wrong moves, lack of capacity to implement such, on being elected only on that big heart, and oh my gosh, is not he as good as whoever it is that loves us for real. So that is why when we are watching, so I denominated that in that very educational series of videos, Predators Want to Love, Not Kill in Nature, that is hardcore psychology, though many sexualize it because it's about sex, and it is needed for education and medicine. I described what is denominated ego self-shifting. Self being not only self, but also self as in someone else. One can say that person as self acts today as if someone else, or shifts between, also in views expressed, opinions of another person who is absent, bringing mixed feelings, so hurt or trying to hurt or trying to be nice, and then one needs to decide which one is the real view, the essence of what that person says, thinks, and is able in enthusiasm, pursuit of means to implement for a politician. Or later on, soon that we're gonna face it, in senators, in clerks, in also officers, agents, assistants, persons who perform food supplementation, workers in diplomacy also abroad. When you watch a person, do not, or see your children or wife or others, do not pursue subduing necessarily fondness for a stranger because of resemblance to you or desire. However, do state first what it is that you, whoever you are, as I do on a regular basis, what it is that you want in congruent decision of physical impressions, emotional ones, and rational analysis of such in what is available and what is as something that sometimes cannot be helped, as in such analysis based on the situation. And once you know that, what it is that you want, what you decided, then you have to, in respect to non-subduing good emotions, also for political leaders, famous persons, not trying to non-stop harm, disgrace, accuse falsely, seeking feel good, you have to then oppose and say, for instance, to a daughter, look, this is a male who is married, a politician, and he is not, let's say, your high school sweetheart John, even though he smiles similarly or is some sort of let's say, football friend or a parent of such. So remember about that, because, for example, in person, that person could be very harmful to you, and his agenda, for example, political one, is not in pair of what you think. And intellect is part of what we think. When it is romantic and sexual fondness, that is different. All jealousy is an indicator in Buddhism, psychology especially, we seek in self and in others such as an indicator of vested sexual interest, meaning romantic love. So when one feels, okay, for example, my daughter feels desire for, let's say, Mr. Trump, isn't that unfortunate that he's a stranger and that he's married? Should I not, for example, say he in fact is an old man and is less attractive than, let's say, 5 or 10 or 20 males who right now are sending to her flowers? Or go and hint them that this is the way to go to compete okay, with someone famous, educating males, especially as an elder or father. And this is opposing, as opposed to trying to say, don't feel it, this and that, and he's no. It is just that it, on behalf of at least one man, makes a statement, no, he is worse than, meaning less interested in that woman as a potential father being married. And that prevents women having idols instead of having, persons that pursue them, as opposed to also treating all famous persons as if they were a video recording. It is not true. It is a real person. Now, if that real person is someone who rationally, reading that person's agenda, views, political views also, is only because of resemblance to someone, specific person who is good, is loved, then we have to say to that person, well, do something, or she or he will choose the wrong political leader or pursue such as a leader because of personal fondness, while it does not match her wishes, sabotaging personal life. So that is what one needs to be mindful of. Now, on a personal note, am I staying here or not? I have no such clear plan. It looks like, because of that sometimes very typical to new persons, a shift of non-stop reclaiming opposites and then asking for it, like in cleaning and in details, things like that, without having a specific thing to do, and then being grateful for it, and then a specific thing to specify to not to do, and moving away from it in anything. In fact, I cannot understand sometimes what a new person wants, and that person then abuses me or accuses me of not fulfilling wishes, creating this trap of such being impossible, and seeking eroticism in it or fidelity to others, both being frankly very offensive to all of us women sometimes. And so that is why I don't like group accommodations, and though that friend of mine Lance kindly offered, I do not, of course, want to miss him, because it could have been, or it could be something more, but at the same time, I do not want, for the two of us, stress of thinking, is he going to spread rumors again about me, or accuse me or punish me for something that he actually did himself or somebody else did, or is that going to be a non-stop paralysis of work and personal progression of that relationship? I've done that. It is possible to work through also with women and men roommates. I think that sometimes long term, at my age, it is better to actually go somewhere else. So I am not sure. I mean, washing my clothes and things like that. My friend here went for a walk. What the consensus is, if he cannot spell it out what his wishes are, I think I've waited long enough to take that decision on my own and make sure that he has a chance to, some influence on it, to what it is that it is going to be. Because, like I said, a sexual or sexual relationship, two different things. And one can have harmoniously one or the other, or just opt out of both, which is also an option. But one needs to decide on something based on how one feels like and what makes self and others happiest. And when persons cannot decide because of that ego self-shaping for too long, for personal safety and happiness sometimes, and at the center of that person and in an area, in respect of theirs, I prefer to move somewhere else. He, of course, offers to give me a ride or cares enough to, make sure that it's okay. It is not, avowed spouse in the youth that one, pursue such a relationship, or father or things like that. So that is a big benefit. And we do have lots of things in common that we didn't decide upon. So that assures me that I did not make any mistakes so far. Now, that is to others, because I'm not gonna email anymore for lack of responses. I probably will head south towards Bishop in hopes to go southeast, or in staying there because I have a tent, like they offered many times, but on where that police station that was friendliest actually, on that area where one can pay $40 and I spend winter on a camp, or I will just take it and also head towards eastern part of California, because I feel like somebody offended me and may want to have explanations if person feels resentful about the country or about personal relationships if I decide in too much conflict to leave United States versus